Hey, family and friends, I am here with a good business partner of mine, Tyler. Tyler and I have been working for a while, and really we're here today just to talk a little bit about real estate, but specifically Tyler's market from a real estate standpoint. And then we're going to jump into home evaluations, prices, is right now a good time to buy? And we're going to have a conversation just a little bit about his specific market. So Tyler, where do you work?
So my kind of core location is basically from the Renton Highlands all the way up to the Kirkland area. So core Eastside locations, kind of the major job center that runs, north and south along the east side of King County. I don't do as much on the Seattle side. Just kind of stayed within that corridor, both working with investors, first-time home buyers, sellers. I actually own a small building company that builds mostly in East Bellevue. Cool. We've built in Kirkland, we've built in Renton, so kind of all throughout that corridor. So that's the area we focus on. We track the market daily. We're looking at everything that comes on, everything that moves. We're looking at our months of inventory, pendings, active. So, when your money's on the line, you keep a tight eye on it, right? So we definitely look at a lot of analytics throughout that area.
Very good. So tell me about the market itself, right? Let's say you have a family that's looking to move here from another state, and they're like, "Hey, I want to live in your market." So that primary Eastside market. Tell us about that market itself, year-over-year sales, or just in general, like, hey, this is how my market looks from a number standpoint. Just so, let's say a first-time home buyer or a move-up client has a better understanding of exactly not just what it's like to live there, but like from a pricing standpoint, affordability, how much do homes cost, things like that.
Okay, awesome. I mean, the number one indicator that I use for like how easy is it going to be to get into a market, right? Which is what a first-time home buyer is looking for, right? How competitive is it going to be? How many homes are going to be available for me to look at, rather than just looking at, inventory stats. I can throw out how many homes are on the market, but that by itself doesn't really give you a great picture, right? I can throw out how many listings are going pending. That by itself doesn't give you a great picture, right? What we always indicate is what's called months of inventory, right? And it's a function of listings going pending versus new listings coming active and what sits on the market. And so what that measure tells you is that if no new inventory comes on the market, how long at the current pending sales rate will it take for us to completely run out of inventory? Okay. Right. So that's a good indicator of how the market's moving, because it's tracking pending sales, but also tracking our new listings that are coming on the market. So it's a function of both of those. So back in March of this year, kind of like core Eastside locations, we were below half a month of inventory. So we had about 2 weeks till you sold out. So pretty historically, that's insanely low. Right. Like that's not a functional market, right? That was why we were seeing these crazy offers. We were seeing homes in Bellevue selling for $1 million over asking price, which is crazy, right? That's not normal. Should never be happening. Was because of the free money the Fed was giving out. A lot of reasons behind that. And now we've seen the shift in the market, right? That's making it a lot easier for buyers to come in, make these offers, get closing costs, get rate buy downs going, get what they want, rather than just settling for whatever they can get. So right now we're sitting at about 1.6 months of inventory, and that's for King County as a whole. We're sitting at about 1.6 months of inventory. So quite a bit higher than when we were all the way down to like 0.4 in March. So it's quadrupled the months of inventory. Now, on a scale, right, 1 to 3 is still considered somewhat of a seller's market. 3 to 6 is neutral. 6 to 9 is like full-on buyer's market. From an inventory perspective, we're still fairly low. And when it comes to months of inventory, we're still, I would say, getting closer to a balanced normal market. Because if you compare where we're at in August, months of inventory sitting at 1.6 right now, that's exactly where we were in August of 2019. So if you take the whole COVID, that threw everything off, right? The whole remote work, we're going to put interest rates to zero. We're going to have, basically free money that they're handing out. That skewed everything statistically. And now, we went from like breakneck pace of the market of things just screaming up at crazy prices and huge appreciation to that ground to a halt, right? Like we saw a rapid shift. I'm sure you saw it too. Where we saw everything just kind of grind to almost a halt for a minute. Everybody stopped, paused, like what's going on? Rates shoot up, hit 6%. Everybody's freaking out. And now I think we've kind of settled back down a little bit where people are getting used to the higher rates. And I think we'll continue to settle throughout the rest of the year and kind of into a normal market next year.
Yeah, we've definitely, I want to say, tapered off into a balance now to where, the Fed, just yesterday, they raised rates by 75 basis points. So rates are still going up, right? Rates are still higher. but just from a macro versus a micro look on the market, a lot of people, a lot of families, I mean, even business owners, right? They'll complain. They'll say, "Oh, rates are too high. Yes, there's a lot more homes on the market, but rates are too high. It's very expensive to purchase a home." And you're right. Your payments are going to be high. Your rates are higher.
Yep.
But I personally think that with this market that we're in, this is creating a balance. Just like you said, right? 6, 8, 9 months ago, it's impossible to sustain a market where you have very little inventory and you have 40 offers or 30 offers on a property, and people are offering, just like you said, on the east side, $1 to $1.2 million over asking.
Yep.
Right? That's not normal.
Yeah.
So seeing our market normalize, right, is a big deal.
Yep.
So and that's a conversation that I like to have with almost every one of my clients that are like, "Hey, Terrace, is right now a good time to buy?" I'll jump in and I'll say, "Well, would you rather be in this market that we are in today, or would you rather be in the market where you're competing just like 9 months ago against maybe 30 different buyers, and just like you said, right, you don't have the ability to negotiate your contingencies correctly, right? Or you can't even have any contingencies because you're not then an attractive buyer and you need 20% down plus, and it was very competitive." But based off of what you're seeing today, is right now, in your opinion, a good time to buy if you are, let's say you don't own a home, right? So you're not moving up, you're not moving down, and you're considering rent, right? So what are kind of rents going for in your area? And when I'll take a step back and we'll look at, hey, what's a mortgage look like for that rent amount?
Yeah.
And then would you consider right now a good time to buy?
Yeah, so that's obviously, like you said, it's going to depend upon personal financial situation. So I think a huge key to that is, talk to a lender like yourself, right? Get in contact with you, talk about financial situations, get in contact with an expert, a real estate expert, somebody like me who can tell you, here's what you're going to spend on throwaway on rent every month. You're going to pay somebody else's mortgage, or you're going to pay your own. That's what I always tell people. I was like, that rent money, you're not getting anything for it. You're just throwing it away, right? At least if you're on a mortgage, you're doing principal pay down, right? You're getting long-term appreciation because in the long run, real estate's always more expensive 10 years from now than it is right now.
I wish I bought 10 years ago, man.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody does. If we had a time machine. That's the way it works. But I mean, people
gobbling up real 2012. Man.
Yeah.
When you go from 2012 to 2015, you see real estate values. Oh my God.
Well, that's the crazy part too. We were talking earlier about these media articles. And I saw one. It was from 2012, a CNBC video, and they were talking about how the financial cliff is coming and it's going to destroy the real estate market recovery. And I'm like, man, anybody who listened to that video, watched that and said, "Oh man, I'm going to sit on the sidelines because, here we go. The real estate market's tanking again in 2012. I mean, look what you could have bought in 2012. I mean, anything you bought would be at least double in value right now, even if you bought in a less desirable neighborhood. So, pretty crazy. That's why I think it's important to talk to a local expert, not look at like national media from a macro perspective. We see these articles, like the one I mentioned to you earlier, that the headline is 150% increase in foreclosures. And it's like fastest pace since 2008. And it's like, okay, great. Let's see this. They want clicks, right? That's their goal. They want clicks. They want to scare people. They want you, clicking on their article. That's their whole goal. That's how they make money from advertisers, right? Now, you actually look at that article, you read down below on it, you see that they're comparing current foreclosure numbers to 2021 and 2020. Right, which is when we had mortgage forbearance. So there were no foreclosures. We were at an all-time low there, basically non-existent. Right. And then if you look at current foreclosure numbers and compare them to 2019, 2018, way lower. Still historically low as far as foreclosures. So there's not going to be this production of inventory that people are waiting for, especially in King County. Right. We're hemmed in between mountains and between water. There's not a huge urban sprawl. There's not a huge abundance of flat land that's going to come out of somewhere. Right. It just doesn't exist. Right. So inventory is going to remain tight. Right. It's ballooned up, right, this year, but just back to normal levels, and it's not going to surge well beyond normal levels. Right. There's just no way to create that. And household formation is still outpacing new starts.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And even like you can't create land, right? So it's not like you're going to see a ton of brand new construction. Now, when you go out to the rural areas, maybe you go to Snohomish County, or you go really east to where you're like borderline Pierce King. You'll see new construction out there, but even now, it's like we have a lot of tech as well, right? So we have great jobs, great incomes, even since the Dodd-Frank Act came out in 2012, it's like people need to qualify to get a home loan. So we're not going to see I don't think we're going to see a giant number in foreclosures, unlike other states maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like we saw that huge, I was reading an article, I think it was Redfin or Zillow that were purchasing a ton of homes in Texas.
Yeah.
And then I forgot which one it was, but then next thing you know, it was like once we saw this hole, 6 to 8 months later, they're selling their homes at what? It was like 20 to 40K under what they purchased. But it's not just a 20 or 40K drop in sale. Like, hey, I just lost 40K. No. You're gonna have title and escrow fees. You're gonna have closing fees. You're gonna have to get that home if you staged on the market. So you saw them lose so much money when it comes to just putting those homes back on the market. Well, they bought at a peak.
Yeah.
Right? They were purchasing and competing right at peak levels. I want to say.
Well,
Yeah.
And that's kind of the key. There's is not making speculative purchases.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the killer with all those guys, is that they were trying to ride this market, make speculative purchases for short-term turnarounds.
Yeah.
That's where you get burned, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's almost impossible to time the bottom of the market.
Yeah.
Just like all those guys didn't see the top of the market, right? And made those purchases that they're going to try and sell again in 6 months.
Yeah.
If you are a long-term purchaser, you have a ton of safety in that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're talking if you're buying, that's why I say it's always about your individual situation. If you see yourself being in that house for at least 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to make money on it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to, based on where the market's headed, and based on the stats, we can look at household formations, all those things. In the long run, it's going to be strong.
No, for sure.
Guaranteed. We'll have ebbs and flows in the market like we always do, and there's going to be unknowns. None of us have a crystal ball to say here's what's going to happen 9 months from now. But long run, you're going to be okay. Right?
No, 100%. And we have a famous saying in the mortgage industry, or people that produce in the mortgage industry. It's you marry the home, you date the rate.
Yep.
Right. Rates are high, right? Just like I said, the Fed raised rates. They're going to continue to raise rates. CPI numbers that came out as well are not looking good from an economic standpoint. Next month, they might be worse. Nobody knows. And as the Fed is doing whatever they can to counter inflation, right? You gotta figure when you're printing that much money over the course of 2 years, you're gonna, your dollar is gonna depreciate. The costs of goods are gonna, especially with everything that was going on in the ports, the cost of goods are going to rise, right? That all of that being said, from like a real estate standpoint, your rate you can refinance. Yep. And we know rates are up, they're high, they might go a little higher, but they will come back down. And when they do right now, I think is a phenomenal opportunity to find a deal.
Yeah.
Find a really, really good deal when it comes to like, even a home listed for $800,000-900,000, you have room to negotiate.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's I think during the COVID market when things were so crazy, inventory was so low, you were almost doing the inverse of that, right? You were marrying the rate and almost dating a house, right? Because you said I'll settle for whatever I can get house wise.
That's right. Yeah.
If I can lock in this 3% or sometimes a rate that's
65 or 2.5 on a 30-year free money.
Yeah,
free money.
Something that starts with a 2, and that's why I say like, is it a good time to buy? And with these rates popping up, it's knocked a lot of buyers out of the market. Yeah. We know that, right? That's why demand has dropped off, because affordability's been hit. But I think there are refinance opportunities here in the near future, based on where things are going. So I think now being able to negotiate on what property you want, getting it at the price you want and the kind of property you want, there's a window here where you can pull it off. Because once rates go back down and they start with a 4 again, now you're competing again. That's right? Now that property you really love that has every feature you want, you're not the only one buying it.
That's right.
That's going to be something that these buyers have to keep in their mind. You try and time the bottom, you miss it, and then you're back into a more competitive market where they're not going to pay your closing costs, right? They're not going to negotiate heavily with you. And we will get back there. We're way too strong of a job growth area in order to stay a buyer-focused market for long, right? And the economy, it'll be interesting to see where things go. What kind of policies come out, Federal Reserve-wise, and we can't predict all of that. But I do see housing being strong just based on supply and demand fundamentals over the long run. And I'm actively looking to buy right now. Right. Personally, I even bought during the COVID period, right? Anything.
Same here.
I'm always looking, and so I look at that as I closed a property in January with New American Funding, actually. Super low rate, right? I locked a non-owner occupied 2.99%, right? That's unbelievable. That's great. Right now, guess what? That value on that rental property that I bought is probably slightly below, right now, the value is below what I paid for it.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly okay with that because I was able to get that rate versus now I'll be able to buy a home for a little cheaper, might pay a little more on the rate. But when I refinance in a year or two on it, I'm going to be looking real smart at that point because I bought it low, refied the rate, right? I married the house and dated the rate. Right? So there's opportunities to be had. You just need to know what you're looking at and what you're going after. And everybody makes their money in real estate in a down market. Yeah. Right? And now is the time where people who know what they're doing and what they're looking at can make a lot of money. Yeah. And that's not just from an investor standpoint. That's from first-time home buyers, people who have been priced out of certain price points, can make it happen now, right? Yeah. They can get the credits they need to be able to do that without a huge down payment, right? Yeah. I had plenty of buyers who 5%, 10% down buyers could not get an offer accepted, right? Wasn't a chance. No seller was going to take that. They wanted the cash buyer. They wanted
in the competitive market.
Yeah, in our prior market, right? They wanted that. Now, doors wide open. Yeah. You can use all sorts of products, VA loans, 5% down,
3.5% on FHA mortgages.
Yeah, exactly. You can use any of it, right? Because they need buyers, right? So now that window is back open where you can shop, right? And find something that you probably couldn't have before. Yeah. And it's going to cost you a little bit more in the short term. Yeah. Everything is going to cost you a little bit more in the short term right now, right? It's like housing prices went up. Guess what? So did rent.
Yeah. Rent skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And it's been going up year year.
Yeah. Rent right now kind of on the east side. I mean, minimum rent for a 3-bedroom, over $3,000 a month. Yeah. Right. And that's all just money right out of your pocket into the landlord's pocket. That's if you want a single family home or like a 3-bedroom townhouse, something like that, north of $3,000. Wow. Right. For not much more, you can buy. Yeah. Right. And then you're paying principal every month. You're getting long-term appreciation. You don't have to worry about getting kicked out every 12 months. Right.
Or your rent's going up every 12 months.
Exactly. I mean, rental increases across the board are going up, right? As taxes go up in King County, as other factors make your landlord pay more, guess who they're passing those costs along to, right? They're not eating those costs. That's just not the way it works. They're going to pass it along, of course, to the tenant. Yeah. And right now the rental market is brutal. Yeah. Just tough to find anything. Yeah. And obviously, I don't think that's going to alleviate super quickly either, because any new rentals that are brought on now, anybody who buys a property to rent it out is paying this higher mortgage rate. Yeah. Right. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes, but I would rather be locked in and secure on something than float around waiting for my landlord to raise my rent.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. Tyler. So first off, thank you for coming here. Oh yeah. And doing this with us. It's always good to get a second opinion or a third opinion on your market, specifically on what real estate's doing and how real estate is just drafting through, because the market shifts. So I've never seen a shift this quick. Yep. I've been doing this for a long time, and the shift in this market was just literally, it felt like overnight. Yeah. For me personally. Yeah. Again, I'm tracking this every day. So yeah.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, I started in this in the Great Recession, right, when we were bottoming out from the last housing cycle, and the shift was dramatic. But we'd also never seen anything like COVID and lockdowns and remote work and 0% interest rates for a 2-year period, where the economy was already strong. So it's been a weird 3 years, where nothing has been normal, and I think we're getting back to normal. Right, which is a good thing for everybody. I mean, I was telling my clients, I said, this market won't last forever. This crazy seller-sided market, where things were getting bid up like this, I said it's not sustainable. Yeah. And now here we are, kind of getting to the other side of it. And I think things will settle out, for the remainder of the year, and then we'll be back to normal, normal course of business. Yeah.
Perfect. Anyways, friends, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to have Tyler's information below, so you'll have his contact. If you're looking to buy a home on the east side, give this guy a call, shoot him a text message, give him a phone call, send him a quick email. Any questions that you have on the market or in his market, feel free to reach out to him, and I know he'll take great care of you.
Yeah, thanks, Darius. Appreciate it.
Take care.